Mornings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eric Zamora. I am a chemistry tutor at Fresno State College. Today we'll be talking over Chapter 5, which is gases. And the main thing that I want to help you with is to know which equation to use when dealing with gas problems. So there are multiple equations in this chapter. There's Avogadro's law, Boyle's law, Charles' law. And most students, when they ask a question on which equation should I use, they have to go through and try to remember, oh, I don't remember this equation, I don't remember this equation. Simple solution to that is always start with the combined gas law. Combined gas law, PV over nRT is equal to PV over nRT. So in the problem that you're going to be given, any information that is given, that's the variable that you want to keep. If no information is given for that particular variable, for example, moles, if you're not given information on moles, we can eliminate that. But if you're given information on temperature, you want to keep that. So, for example, if they give me pressure and temperature, and I don't know which equation to use, always start off with this problem, right, or this equation right here. So if they give me pressure, so I'm going to have pressure and I'm going to have temperature. I'm going to keep these variables. What I can eliminate is everything else. Eliminate volume, eliminate moles, eliminate R. Volumes, moles, and my R. So now what I'm left with is pressure over temperature is equal to pressure over temperature. And on one side of the equation we have one state, and on the right side of the equation we have another state. So what I like to think of it as is just a snapshot in time, just a frame, just a moment. And on the left side we have one moment, and on the right side we have the second moment. So if they say if I'm starting with this pressure and I'm starting with this temperature, so I have my initial pressure, I have my initial temperature, and the system is increased to a certain temperature. So I have my third variable, but I don't know my fourth one. Now I know what equation to use. Okay, I'm just going to go with it. Should have wrote that in the beginning. Okay, I have my initial pressure over my initial temperature, my final pressure over my final temperature. So since this is the variable, since pressure 2 is the variable that I want to solve for, I'm going to manipulate this to where I get P2 by itself. So to get P2 by itself, I have to multiply both sides by T2. Cancels out my T2s. So now I'm left with my final pressure is equal to my initial pressure times my final temperature over my initial temperature. Showing another example, starting with the combined gas law. Once again, the question that you're trying to figure out, you have to look at the information that's given and check off what variables you need to keep and what variables you need to eliminate. So if they give you a volume of your initial volume, your final volume, and they give you your initial temperature, but they don't give you your final temperature, and you want to find out your final temperature. So they give you your volume and temperature. They don't say anything about pressure. They don't say anything about moles. R is on both sides, so that can be canceled out. So now I'm left with my initial volume over my initial temperature over my final volume over my final temperature. And remember, the question was asking what's my final temperature. So I have my initial volume, have my initial temperature, have my final volume. I don't know my final temperature. That's what they're trying to figure out, or what we're trying to figure out. So now we have to manipulate this equation to where T2 is by itself. So the way to do this in 2 steps, I'll do the 2 steps. Multiply both sides by T2. T2 cancels on this side, so now I'm left with T2 times V1 over T1 equals V2. But now we want to isolate T2 by itself. So we multiply T2 by the reciprocal of V1 over T1. My T1 cancel out my T1, my V1 cancel my V1. So now I'm left with my final temperature is going to equal my initial temperature times my final volume over my initial volume. So this just shows that no matter what problem you get, always start with the combined gas law. Eliminate the variables that you don't need. If they don't give you information on it, you're not gonna need to use it. If they give you the information on it, use it in your combined gas law. This will always get you to the point that you need. Always get you the answer that you need. And I hope that helps.